right, I've got the, yeah, we're going to go a little bit more on this Accurate 153 here. I wasn't going to, but we are working on it. 540 kc. Well, you can see we're way off. And the problem is, I've got the wrong schematic. This is the schematic that I downloaded. Supposed to be for the 153. Shows 4 coils here. Mine only has 3 coils. Also, it's supposed to have a 450 micromic trimmer cap. Doesn't have it. Let me turn this off here, because these wires are hot. These is B+, because the output transformer is in here. I recapped this, not the electrolytics. I recapped this. I had to look up the tubes on the computer because it's not in my tube manual. The 5687, I've got the pinouts on that, and the 6350, which is a computer tube, from what I was told, and I saw that on the tube data online. So I got the pinouts on that, and this capacitor that's buried way in the back here, I cannot get at it. The capacitor is soldered very close to the, it's on the grid to the ground. So it's a very low voltage, so I'm not worried about that. The same here with this bumblebee over here. Same thing, it goes from grid to ground. All right, you can see here, these are the line to ground caps. These are safety caps. I replaced that. I replaced this. I think this is a .068. I have no idea what this is. Domino cap, but you can see here, there's only 3 coils in this thing. And believe me, I looked all over this chassis for a trimmer cap. So I don't know which one to adjust, and I don't think you adjust any of them for centering the dial on the right frequency. There is no, unless you see something I don't see, there is no trimmer cap in here. This cap was replaced, apparently. Must have been in the future, because I didn't put that in there. I'm going to put a .01 in here, and yes, Jim had pointed out to make sure that the resistor, that 2.2 meg, which is good, I tested it, goes on the other side of the cap, and that I intend to do, because you need a blocking cap. You gotta have it, but I can't find any trimmer cap in here, so I have no idea how you're supposed to compensate the dial, because it's off all the way, at least on that range anyways. There is no trimmers on the tuning cap. I'm sorry about the lighting. I'm in an awkward position as always here. No trimmer cap on either side of the tuning condenser. Nothing on the top of the chassis. And yes, I marked the tube numbers here. The only one that's standard is the 6AG5. I have not tested any of them. I doubt I'll be able to test the computer tubes in my tester anyways. But it apparently is working. Now, I changed this cap, which was a bumblebee. And of course I did these as I showed you. My electrolytics are running ice cold, so I'm not even going to worry about that. So I think we're dead in the water until I can get the right schematic, because this is not the right schematic. Again, let me show you. I don't have this tuning cap here. Okay? Unless that is the tuning condenser. It could be. Maybe that is the tuning condenser, that symbol. There is no parts list. All there is the schematic on this thing. So let's say that that's the tuning condenser. Okay, that's fine. But there is no adjustment, and maybe there isn't any. Maybe you have to actually change components, in which case maybe this 100 micromic have to be juggled around in order to get the dial back on to where it should be. But there's only 3 coils in my unit. So I honestly believe that this is the wrong schematic for this, even though it's a 153. Now, you might say, well, maybe the dial is off. Everything's in my way here. I don't do anything in this shop. All right, she stops here. And she stops there. So it's not a mechanical problem. It's electrical. Now I can juggle those coils around and probably get the dial centered, but I don't want to do that. Now there's 3 coils, and yet there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bands. Okay. So obviously it's harmonic, but that's where we're at right now. I had to get some adapters here to use it for RCA, which I don't like, but I'm not going to worry about that. And as I said, Jim pointed out that this resistor here must be on the opposite side towards the tube, so that the tube grid sees this resistor, which I understand. So my intention is to unsolder this, get myself in camera here, unsolder this, probably put a terminal strip over here, I'm not sure yet, or somewhere down here. Leave the resistor, lift the resistor, and make sure it goes on the center conductor. So put the conductor and the resistor on the terminal strip, put the capacitor from the terminal strip and the junction of this here over to the center pin. So that's the safest way to do it. And if I put the capacitor over here, like Jim said, you need to put this resistor down onto the grid. Okay, that I understand, and that was my original intention anyways. But right now, this is a puzzle here. On this video here, it's a little bit of a mix. Again, just pointing out a few things on this. Now I want to bring you up to date on another piece of equipment here, which I had checked out a couple days ago. Now you all remember this. I cleaned this up pretty good, but I should have taken and tested it first. The meter is totally burned out. I took the face off of it. Very nice bezel. I thought maybe the wires on the back were broken off inside, but no such luck. The actual meter movement coil is gone. I've had that happen with a Simpson. I think it was a 270 or something I bought at the Jewett City Flea Market a few years ago. The meter movement, it moved, but it was burnt out. That's the story of my life. So needless to say, I went to all the trouble of cleaning it. I got dryer sheets in here. I cleaned the case up nicely. Spent a lot of time on it. It still stinks a little bit, but not bad. I did use the white vinegar and a good strong cleaner first, and then the white vinegar. I took all this out and cleaned out the inside. Cleaned this, cleaned the inside of the chassis and everything. Everything works on this. The filament adjust, the ranges all work. But the meter movement was burnt out, so it's pretty useless. So I'm afraid I threw $10 away, about the only thing I could make out of this. This puts out a little over 450 volts. So this could be used, the transformer could be used for a power supply, which I intended to make, but I just don't have a case for it. And me, I want metal cases. I don't want plastic junk and stuff like that. And I like the analog stuff. I want analog meters. I don't mind a digital meter for the voltage, but I kind of like the analog too. But anyways, I don't, as I said, I don't do CRT. Anyways, and I figured the last thing I expected was the meter to be burned out because it looks so nice, except for being smelly. So I didn't see any corrosion on the inside of the meter. Naturally, when I took this off, and I had a hell of a job getting it out, when I pulled this plate out here, two little thin pieces of metal came out with little holes in them. There's two of them came out. I said, well, that's the end of that. I'll never get that back in. When it comes to meter movements, they cannot be fixed. That is an impossibility. You throw the damn thing out and replace the whole meter. About the only thing you can do with this is to replace the plastic in the future. So anybody needs a plastic for one of their meters or something, they're welcome to it. They pay the postage. So I'll hang on to that. As far as this is concerned, that's it. And I got it cleaned up, other than the paint that's on it. I got it cleaned up pretty good. And the whole unit works good. No problem with it. As far as voltages, they're all there. All the positions in the switch seem to work. The heater voltages and the B plus works. I measured the B plus. The electrolytics has had all kinds of fungi on them, mildew and everything. I brought it up slowly. No problems, no overheating. And everything worked. So it's just too bad. But when I saw that I was getting 6.3 volts on pins 1 and 12 of the socket that I had, the picture tube socket, because your filament pins are 1 and 12, 1 and 14, or whatever the CRT is that you're testing. I was getting filament voltage there, but the meter was not moving, and I knew right away what I was in for. So I got burned on that. Even though it's only $10, I got burned. Now, on the grid dip meter, which is the next thing, a hell of a time getting this apart, but I did. I have the schematic for the grid dip meter. This is a model GD-1A. I got the schematic for the GD-1A. This has two electrolytics in it. The schematic shows only one, which is, I think, down at this end. It was at the end of the chassis. Very, very, very difficult to work on, but I managed to replace it. It was a 15 microfarad, 150 volts. So I put in a 22 at 160. It's only putting on about 111 volts, I believe, is all it does. It works. Works very well. I can't get the dial looking any better than that. And it does work. We're going to make a video on it. You got to be careful with this, because when it comes to an end, you got to go very gently, because it stopped right there. This whole thing, if you turn it with any pressure at all, the whole thing goes out of calibration, because there's a set screw. This dial is plastic. You got a set screw that goes in there. You can only tighten it so much. So when I got it, it was way off. So you got to go very easily, because if you push this and it'll continue turning, then the whole dial is off. So it's very difficult to work on and to get it lined up right, because I need my reading glasses holding a magnifier, because I could not see the slot in this adjusting screw, and then trying to get my little screwdriver in there and adjusting it. It takes a 6AF6 oscillator tube. AF6 was used in UHF converter tuners on the old televisions years and years ago. Those converter boxes, that's a common tube they used. They also used 6J6s. The one I used to have years ago in my shop, can't remember the brand, it wasn't a Heathkit, it used an Acorn tube. So everything works on this, and it heterodynes, oscillates, because basically grid dip meter is an oscillator. And all the coils are proper and working good, so that'll be another video. But I'm not going to open it up and make any more videos. There, like I say, there's 2 electrolytics in here, but the schematic I have, which I did not print out yet, but I looked on the computer, shows only 1 electrolytic, and that was the one I replaced. So what the other one is, I don't know, but it looks original, and it's buried in the middle of the circuitry. I cannot get at it, so I'll leave it alone. It works, leave it alone. So when I finish, like I say, when I get this thing done, then I'll work on this. But what I've been doing is working on this, because I can't do nothing else with this radio yet. I got to find a neat way to put that cap in there. 0.01, Jim said I wouldn't use anything over 0.01. My intention is to use an 0.01, because here there's an 0.01. Well, at least the schematic calls for it. But like I say, I think this is the wrong schematic, because again, it's showing 4 coils, and mine only has 3, so so I'll do that, and the bumblebee, like I say, down here, I'm not going to worry about that. According to the schematic, that's an 0.1. But it's tucked in there quite hard, but it's not as bad as this one over here, which is off the grid to ground. So it's a very, very, very low voltage involved. We're not going to bother with it. So I don't know if any of you have this unit. I know Lucky Larry has. If you think of it, Larry, it's hard to see sometimes. You don't show good close-ups, and it's hard for me to see what you have compared to what I have. But do you have 3 coils on yours, or do you have 4 coils? Does your schematic show 4 coils, or does it show 3 coils? If it shows 3 coils, then I need to get that schematic. But the model number is correct. It is a model 153. But it's revised, as it says here. Okay, so we're going to just throw this out. I try to give you an update. And like I say on this B&K 465, I'm afraid we're dead in the water with that. I'm certainly not going to go on eBay and pay $25, $30, or $40 for something I'll never use just to get a good meter. It's just not worth it. If I was still doing TVs and it was 25, 30 years ago, yes, I would definitely. I always wanted a Model 465. I'd like to get a Beltron like Shango 66 has, but I don't do TVs. I know I can't see the point of doing them. They're obsolete. It's nice. They're fun to work on, but I really don't have any need. You can see the shop here. Taking in a small radio kind of fills my shop up. So, okay, that's it. I think this is safe to run. It's ice cold. This cord is very thin and very stiff. There's an article on, somebody gave me the link to it, one of my viewers, on these type of testers, including this one, the ICO and Heathkit and a few others. And the guy that worked on it said he puts a 3-prong grounded cord on it, and I may do that. Even though it's got a power transformer, I would just have to ream out that hole a little larger and maybe insert a grommet in there, but I'm not sure yet. It's not something that's going to get used a lot. The cord is good, it's just a little stiff. But I need to get this, so it's pretty close. It should be very close. It doesn't have to be right on the money, but you can't have almost 100 kc off. In this case, it was 530 some kc versus 455, 456 kc. You can't have that big variation. A little bit either side is fine, because put a frequency counter on them to get them right on the money anyhow. But I would like, as I said, I would like to get a BNC in here. But this RCA is held in with 2 rivets. If I was to drill them out, they would really look like hell on the panel. I could break them off. We'll get down here to the RF one here. I can break it off, leave the rivets in, but there may not be enough room to get the nut on back of the BNC connector. So I really don't know. I might just leave that alone and deal with the blocking capacitor that I need to put in here. Okay, so that's it, folks. So mine only has 3 coils, and I am sure this is a high frequency coil here, so that might be the 4th coil. I just thought of that. But getting back on the schematic once again, it's showing each coil adjustable with a slug. See the line with the arrow pointing to the right? That represents a slug-tuned coil. It's a tunable coil. These are tunable coils. This is not. What you do if you want to adjust the frequency on this is you either push some of the windings closer together or farther apart, depending on whether you want to go up on the frequency or down. But I think this is a high frequency coil, so it really wouldn't do anything except probably mess up one of the bands, and you'll still be off on the low bands. So you need something to calibrate the dial with. So there should be a dial coil or trimmer, and this was not a kit, so I can't say, well, maybe it was left out. I would imagine one could be added, but this is getting too much, That's it, folks. So if anybody has one like this that don't mind taking a peek in there, compare it with your schematic, and if I have the wrong revision of schematic, then I need to get the correct one, because this one has, as I said, 3 adjustable coils, not 4 like the schematic says. All right, that's it, folks. Just wanted to throw this up to you, and longer than I wanted it to be, but that's the way it goes with me. Thanks for watching.